Management Research.
Hello and welcome to the Management Research podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eugene. Hello and welcome to the next episode in our mini-series on the relational models theory. And today we continue talking about the conflicts and how to avoid them applying the relational models theory. In the last episode, we talked about the conflicts that appear due to misunderstandings when we misinterpret the model or we mix them up. Actually, we talked more about mixing up the model and trying to take best of two worlds that never works. I like to ask this question by my students: is it a good idea to mix up relational models to get the best of two worlds? And although I told them many times that it is a very bad idea, that it will lead to conflicts, some people still believe when they see the phrase the best of two worlds, they think it is a good idea. No, it is not. In this episode, I want to share with you a short story and also explain how to interpret signaling, or how to understand what the other people would like to have from you, what kind of relationships. I used to have a very good friend of mine, actually was the one whom I would describe as a best friend, and he helped us a lot, me and my wife, when we went to Germany, and we did a lot of stuff together, and it was really, really helpful, especially if you are new to the country, you haven't been there for a long time, and you don't know how many things function, you don't have friends and so on. So it was really good relationship, it was really, really helpful, and we enjoyed it pretty much. And then one day, after 1 year, he stopped talking to me, completely disappeared from my life. I tried to call him, he never took the phone, and half a year I couldn't even understand what happened, just completely full ignorance. And then once I had a conversation with his mother, because she's also a friend of mine, and I asked her what happened. And she said, okay, I don't feel comfortable, but I'm going to tell you that he used to help you with a motorcycle, and then you want to eat, and he expected that you will invite him. And it was a kind of big struck through my brain just because I understood it. I misinterpreted the relationships completely. It was not the problem that I didn't have money or I didn't want to say thank you, but for me it was the communal sharing type of relationships, where it was just absolutely normal. If he had said that we have to go at night and build a garage, or I don't know, do something else, I would have just done it without any considerations, without any concerns. But for him the relationship was the equality matching type of relationships, and he expected that each time he does something for me, I will also do something for him. It was not bad, but knowing this, I should have been able to recognize that it was completely different understanding of the relationships, which led to a big conflict. And that is what I want to tell you, that it's not about mixing models, it's about misinterpreting relationships, and it's a bit different problem that we're going to talk about today. So, what we need to know is that the relationships can be misunderstood. It can be understood in a very wrong way. And when we made our study with the soldiers in Ukraine, we tried to apply the questionnaire from the paper by Haslam and Fisk 1999, and we noticed that we have the problem with the confirmatory factor analysis with regard to the two factors, equality matching, communal sharing. It seems that people don't really differentiate between them if they respond, and we had to delete one factor from the relationship just because we could not analyze it. I think it was the other study. It was the study in Ukraine and Germany, and with the soldiers we had a similar issue. We also had to skip one model. And it indicates that these models, they are easy to confuse, although they're very different. They have a different core, they have a different theme behind them. But still, they're easy to confuse, even for the researchers, not only for the people who are not aware of the models they're applying. And that is why you have to understand the signals of the other parties, or you have to signal to the other party what kind of relationships you would like to have. And I have a very interesting story, another one that I would like to share with you. We have the new neighbors, and once after a certain time of, let's say it was not a friendship but a good neighbor relationships, we brought them some food. You bake a cake, and next day immediately we understood some chocolates in return. And this actually, if you think about it, it is the clear interpretation of what kind of relationships they would like to have. They would like to have the equality matching types of relationships. If we do something for them, they do something for us. If they do something for us, we do something for them. So the key pro quo relationships. And our relationships evolved over time. We did something else, and we did something jointly, and we have a dog whom we take care of jointly. And once again, we brought something food and we didn't get anything in return. And the interesting fact is, it is not bad, actually it is very good, because they indicated with this gesture, without being aware of it, that we became a different type of relationships. We became the communal sharing type of relationships, and probably we became much closer to them, and we kind of start becoming a part of the family, a part of very different, much deeper type of relationships with a high level of trust. These are the things that signal you what kind of relationships you would like to have. For example, last time when I asked our neighbor to help us with electricity, he helped it, and I didn't even try to offer him some money or something like this. And I remember once he told me that when his friend offered him to pay for him, he said that if one more time he is going to offer him some money for his job, he will never talk to him, because it is not how the friends should talk to each other. And I find it very sympathetic and very interesting that we can interpret these signals and understand what type of relationships we might have, because it allows us to avoid many problems and conflicts in future. The same applies to you. If you want to know, you have to signal and you have to interpret the signals by others. And it seems that giving somebody something and looking how people respond to it is a great idea, because you will see whether they try to give you something in return that would signal equality matching model or not. And if not, it will signal that it is either the communal sharing or authority ranking model of relationships. So either the family-like or the authoritarian, where they expect you to give them something because they think they're in charge. And I think between these two, it's very easy to differentiate. Between the authority ranking and communal sharing, it's much easier to differentiate than between equality matching and communal sharing. And with regard to market pricing, is more or less the same. If you give something and see whether they try to pay you in some way for this one and how they want to do it. And if yes, then you can also understand what is the difference between the equality matching and market pricing model. You can also see not only by giving and taking, but also by how the roles are distributed, how they propose to make decisions. Will they just make decisions jointly by a consensus, or will they vote? Consensus would indicate communal sharing, voting would indicate equality matching. If one of the parties tries to take charge and say, no, we do it like this would indicate authority ranking model. And if they say, okay, let's see how much we invest in this decision, and then we decide the one who invested more has to make the final decision, this would indicate a market pricing model of relationships. So if you go through my previous episodes that describe the aspects of each of these four models, you will understand what to look at in order to understand what people signal you and what kind of relationships they would like to have with you. Don't forget, if you feel about something uncomfortable when you give somebody a cake and they don't give you cake in return or something chocolates in return, this might be a very good signal, by the way. It can happen that you become much closer to these people than you might have thought. It can be also something bad. They think that you are obliged to give them something because they're in charge. So it can be anything, but this difference you will notice. With this in mind, take care of your relationships, try to organize them better, try to avoid conflicts, and try to be in a congruent model of relationships. Don't mix up the models, what we talked about in the last episode. Just try to be congruent in one, consistent in one mode, applying the communal sharing and this type of relationships, or equality matching, or authority ranking, or market pricing, whatever both parties in these relationships feel comfortable with. Wish you all the best, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.